clock just turned for me.
Hello and welcome to Life is Art. Release the magic medicine of your imagination to create the life of your dreams. I am so excited to be joined by these powerful women, magicians, magic makers, art makers, leaders, what else? Goddesses. It's such an amazing time that we're opening up this portal to share in the magic of our imagination. The imagination is a huge part of where I do my work, as I'm sure everyone here can say that. Oh, by the way, I'm Deborah Epstein. I didn't introduce myself. I figure everybody knows me now. Yeah, and I'm just really happy to have you here. And so going around, we have Minette Riordan. Did I say that right? I always get your name messed up because I want to spell it correctly and I always say it wrong. So you please correct me so I get it right. Riordan.
You were
and that's
super
how I
close.
say it. And then okay, I messed up. Anyway, so we have Minette Riordan, we have Christina Miglino, we have Hwang, we have Larissa Russell and Joyce van Der Lely, all the way from down under in New Zealand. So she, what I love about her being here, not only she's a cool, magical lady, she is in a zone in the world that is going into summer as we are going into winter. And I just love that she's representing the polarity of this part of the energy. So thank you all for being here. And in a moment, I'm going to go around and have you each introduce yourselves and say a little bit about how you use your imagination in your work, what you find so magical about it, and anything else that you want to share about your work in the world so that we can get to know you a little bit better. But first, what we're going to do is just create a big ceremonial container. As we all know, we're in this amazing magical space of Halloween, Samhain, Diwali. I'm going to say this wrong. My husband's been joking with me all week because I get the pronunciation wrong. Dia de los Muertos. How'd I do? Good. So it's just the veil is very thin. I've been doing a ton of reading. I don't know if you guys have been doing reading, but what's really interesting is I've only read stuff today. I've been purposefully staying away from it so I can be in the purity of the energy. And it was so funny because when I got the ping to do this event back in the end of August, beginning of September, and I was kind of dancing around, oh, do I want to, do I not want to, do I want to, do I not want to? It started to drop in, the energy. I was already in the field of energy creating it. And so like some of the stuff that I wrote about and how I envisioned this, when I was reading today about what's occurring in the field, I was like, of course, that's why I love to do it that way. Not so much to prove myself right, because it's like a magical surprise. Like we're all in this field of energy together and we're co-creating it. So we all hold a piece of this. We're all really, really important in the co-creation of this moment. And not just that, is our ancestors. The veil's really thin, our ancestors coming in. We are creating with goddess energy, with divine feminine, with divine masculine. We're in this huge time of transformation in the Scorpio energy. So anything you guys want to throw in there about that, I think will be so well received and so appropriate and thankfully received by me. So I'm just going to light a little sage. And I'm going to invite everyone here on the call right now just to close your eyes. And if you have sage, open your eyes for a minute and light it. Don't light it with your eyes closed. And sage your space, light a candle. If you have some incense, I have some incense going as well. The Cosmic Dreaming Lodge is smelling delicious right now. All of the essences flowing through the air. And just being open to receive these smokes as medicine into your field to help you find clarity, to help you open your imagination even wider, to receive the love of the divine in your heart. And may you see it blossom throughout your life, in every endeavor and in every creation. And so it is, and it is so. Okay. And I want to just thank everyone who is here in the audience participating in the live. I just want to thank you for showing up and being here to support and to receive and to give and to be a part of this magical container. I'm so excited because I've kind of previewed everybody's videos that are coming out during the week, and it's you guys who are participating. First of all, the speakers are just amazing women, and you are all in for such a treat with what they're sharing with you for medicine for this week. So let's just go around, and let's start with Minette. If you want to just briefly tell us about yourself and anything else that you'd like to share, anything that's on your heart. It's all open for discussion.
Thank you. Well, I'm humbled and honored to be here. Thank you, Deborah, for putting this event together, for creating such a magical day. It's an interesting time for me. I recently moved to Colorado, and this is my first time to experience a true fall, going into a true winter. I've always lived in Texas and California, where it was just kind of warm all the time, or it was warm and then cold and nothing in between. So it feels like a time of settling, and my body is reacting very differently. I'm more tired than maybe I normally would be, which I'm sure is also all the energies cycling, and just being here in the fullness of that. Like, it feels so supportive to be in community with everyone and to know that I'm not alone at this particular very interesting time of the year of all the energies gathering, and realizing as we're gathering here that art is my medicine, and that there hasn't been enough of that in my life lately. I've been traveling quite a bit, glad to be home, and just looking at my own longing for more connection to the sacred through my art practice right now.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Let's pop on down to Christina. Thanks for being here, Christina, and thanks for being here, Minette.
Oh, thanks, Deborah. It's so good to see your face. I miss you. I realize when and just to see all of your support guides behind you is really beautiful. I just want to say that to you. Thank you for having me here. This is an interesting moment for me as well, Minette. When you said that, I was like, okay, I'm not the only one. Yeah, I guess what I can say first of all is that I'm a shamanic healer and really a spiritual mentor for women and non-binary folks. A lot of my work is around healing, but it's also about being a stand for healing with the collective. So I work a lot with small, intimate circles of women, and there's a lot of liberation and working with really the myths and stories of the goddess to work us and walk us through the healing of our ancestors, or the patterns we hold or carry for our ancestors, and really how to unburden and liberate ourselves so that we can create the magic that's behind Deborah, or whatever our magic is in the world. Otherwise, I think sometimes we spend a lot of our time not able to access the present moment and the creative spark when we're holding too much, or we're burdened by what the past was, or what we might be carrying consciously or unconsciously. So it's kind of a lot, but that's what I yeah. So grateful to spend this time with you all too. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Christina. I know whenever we have a conversation, it goes like real deep, real wide, and we could talk for hours and hours and hours. And I love that. It's juicy. So I love what you're bringing into the field, and can't wait till we all start kind of weaving our magic together as we get going. Let's hop on down to Destiny.
Hi, everyone. I'm Destiny Hwang. Thank you for having me, Deborah. I'm so happy to be here and grateful to be in the space with all of you amazing women panelists and our audience. And I'm a healer and an intuitive, and I work with women mostly with their healing, but also with connecting with their spirit team, their spirit guides, ancestors, everyone on their team. And Deborah was kind of hinting towards, what do you find magical about your work? And this really is the juicy spot. The magic for me is being the witness, because sure, I get to kind of facilitate the healing and let the healing come through me, but really it's the person in front of me that's doing their sacred work. So I get to watch, and it is so fun, and I enjoy it, and I love it, and it's my true soul's work. And the spirit team stuff lights me up too. That is so magical. Before I even knew there were spirit guides or anything like that, I was such a skeptic. I didn't believe in angels or anything like that, but had kind of this magical experience. And when I discovered that I had this team of beings here to support me and guide me and give me wisdom, and that I wasn't alone in this crazy world, that I really started to sink into being able to be feeling safe in this world and bring out my light and bring out my art and my magic. And so that's really what I'm here to do, to help other women with that. And I did want to mention one little thing. I pulled a card too, Deborah. I know we did earlier. I just wanted to share with everyone. This is Imrama. I think I'm saying that right. Not sure. And it says, where are you being called to journey to? And so I'm sure many of you are all very familiar with the shamanic journey, and how this to me feels very shamanic. It feels very like we get to use our imaginations in this. This is the time of the imagination. And so when we take this journey together today, I'm just feeling like Spirit's asking us, like, where can we go? And like, where can we go after this too? Like, how can we get our magical feet wet? And how can we really dive in and be in our authentic selves and explore what we feel called to explore? So yeah, that's it.
Thank you. That was beautiful too. Yeah, I love how you're weaving it in. And yeah, this does feel like a magical journey that we all get to be on together right now, and that all of us are opening up to something that's going to transform us, and we get to carry that through past today. And that's, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Let's go down to Larissa.
Yes, so Larissa Russell of Creative You, for anyone who doesn't know me. Deb and I do Connection with Spirit once a month on our live. And so we've had many a great conversation, and which started because we just have amazing conversations. And so we decided we needed to share those. So we started doing that. And healing with creativity is what I do. And I think just to touch on what a few of you were saying just about that collective energy, and then how the messages we're all getting right now, right? And I think about, like, for instance, my awakening program that I put together, and in the week from the time that I got what I considered a download, because I get these sort of downloads of things that I need to do, I probably saw 6 other almost identical wording programs come out in that week that I was putting mine together. And Deb and I often, whenever we meet, it'll be, I'm going to do this. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm working on that too. And, all of those sort of things, because that collective energy is there and we're all weaving it together to make sure it gets to as many people as possible to be able to share so that we can all grow and expand and have that sort of platform, I guess, that we need to hold everybody up, to help everybody forward. And so I'm really grateful to be a part of that and to connect with so many amazing women on such a regular basis. I know most people here, and Christine, I'm sorry, I don't know you, but I'm sure I'm going to get to know you. So, just amazing women that are doing amazing things. And I just feel so blessed to be a part of that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that share. And yeah, our conversation, anytime we would do something, we'd spend like an hour talking like, okay, you ready to record now? So we have to book like 2 hours with each other. So funny. Thank you for being here. And Joyce.
Well, hello everybody. I'm really speechless being part of this panel. So I know a couple of you and I don't know a couple of others very well. So looking forward to getting a deeper connection. So that's really good. And the audience, the people that are watching, welcome, welcome, welcome. So I will add to this pile of synchronicities and collective vibration as well. This is also a very challenging year and time for me personally, which makes it so much clearer why my creative expression is such an important part of my life. Life is art, art is healing, creative expression is a healing tool. It's my medicine. I've used that throughout my life to get me through challenges and hard times. And this particular time is a great example of that. So I've told my clients as well, like, if you ever want to see it in action, work with me now, because this is really how I apply it. I really need it. Creative expression, no matter what your choice of creative expression is, whether it's visual art or music or dance or anything, that is where your medicine lies, where the power is. And if you can manage to find that connection, it's the most beautiful thing and such a healing tool like nothing else, really. And I'm so happy that I have it. It's an escape. It's a place where I can escape to, a place where I can hide, a place where I can release my emotions, where I can charge up and find nourishment. And so if you look at an infinite symbol, it's really like that. You can release into your art, into your artistic expression, and then you receive the power that you need back. And so you can keep going. It's never ending. It's infinite. It's never ending. And as Deborah already said, weave in your magic. I talk often about how to weave together different ways of creative expression as well. So you have many layers. I'm a multi-passionate creative artist myself. So we work with layers. We like to work with layers, and you can layer different artistic expressions together and weave a safety cloak, to keep yourself safe, for protection and all that. I've been pulling cards like crazy lately as well. And I've been receiving a few of the same ones from different decks as well. So it's really strange that I keep receiving one card specifically that says that I need to embrace my white witch and I need to be the light. And sometimes I forget. And that is also why I do this work, to help support others that may sometimes also put themselves last and then forget their own power. Because that is what a lot of women and a lot of creatives seem to do. A lot of empathetic, is it that the word? We like to give, and then sometimes you forget yourself, and you need to take that time, slow down, take that time, take those breaths, be in the moment, and reflect on your own power, listen to your own whispers. You know, I work a lot with the senses. I think if you open the doors to your senses, you can find so many answers and so much information and depth within yourself. And that is where you find that power, that healing power. It's all connected. We are all connected, but that's also all connected. So yeah, I'm super grateful to be here and to be able to share and be part of this panel. And I hope that everybody finds a little golden star. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. There's so much in what all you guys are sharing. And I'm sitting here feeling the field and what wants to be brought forward first. And while this is about our imagination, everything is about our imagination, right? We're making all of it up, all of the stories we tell, everything you see outside you is of your own creation and how you react to that. And I'd love to just open up the floor for anyone to kind of dive in and talk to me about, or just talk to everybody about how you relate to the great illusion, the grand illusion that is outside of you, and how you connect with your imagination.
I'd love to dive in.
You go, Minette.
So I love that question. And, you know, it's interesting. So I was leading a workshop for therapists this weekend on the alchemy of grief and getting them to reconnect to their bodies through visual imagery and collage. And I'm always surprised how easy it is for us to feel cut off from our imagination and not to spend time in this space. And I heard someone say today that she was taken to task for navel gazing, for spending time daydreaming and thinking things through. And to me, it's where the magic happens. And I can't remember if you said this on the call or before the call, we've all done this already, like in the other realms, like we've been here having this conversation for a while now, not just in the moment. And I find that everything in my life works better when I make time to connect visually to what it is that I want to create, whether that is a piece of art or a better relationship with my spouse or my kids, or simply a deeper connection with spirit and my guides. It all starts in what I can imagine.
Beautiful. Joyce, did you want to hop in on that?
Yeah, I can say that I look at everything that happens as an adventure. I started looking at all the things that, you know, everybody experiences things that you may not have envisaged for yourself. And oftentimes then there's this question, why is this happening to me? So I've been doing this work for many years, so I don't look at it that way anymore. I see it more like I'm reading this book and every chapter is a new adventure. And so some chapters have challenges, but don't we all love to watch a movie or read a book where the main character needs to overcome things, and then we cheer on and we go like, yay, you know? Well, so that's how I look at my life now. And it makes a lot of things a lot easier. Yes, there's heartache. Yes, you know, not everything goes smoothly either for me, but it makes it easier to accept what happens and to see it as an adventure or a puzzle or a quest, and just go along for that journey, you know, and yeah, as you say, create it in a way that you would love to see described in that book or in that movie, you know. Just include that into your life, what's happening, and make it you write your own story. So yeah, you can embellish it the way you like it as well. So whenever something happens, then, you know, I go to my work table and I will start to journal, and I will start to slow down, because I cannot meditate like this. So I need to meditate while my hands are doing something. So I will create, I will journal, I will doodle, I will sculpt, I will, something that my hands can do. And that will bring me personally, that calm that I need. And that is where I find my meditation. And so that's also something that I do a lot with my clients. We find the bespoke ways how things work for everybody, because that's where, so I work with multi-passionate creatives, and I call them magical misfits, because for most of my life, I felt like I wasn't fitting in anywhere. And I still struggle sometimes that thought comes back. Not everything needs to work in the same way for everybody, and that is okay. The fact that I cannot meditate in any other way than having my hands being occupied with something. There are so many other things as well. So yeah, like that, and make it adventurous. So I create adventures, I create things, I create all the time. I make things all the time to keep my mind calm, to keep my heart, protected, and and to keep my soul alive and creative, and so that I can keep creating. Yeah, again, it's all connected, so we need to embrace that, right? Yeah, so see it as an adventure. Live your life as an adventure and have fun along the way, no matter what happens.
How boring would it be just to have everything always drop in just the way you want it, right?
I know.
Be
but,
great, but we need that.
I mean, don't you think sometimes people, and this is more than towards the audience, people that will see us, for instance, talk about things, and we've done the work for so many years. I know for sure that every one of you will have done this kind of work for years and years and years. So we have that experience behind us. And then people that perhaps are new to our world, they drop in, they listen, they watch, and they go like, oh, of course it goes like that for them. And, but that's unfair to even look at it that way. So you have to begin at where you are. You have to begin where you are, and then enjoy and be cool with all that happens, right? Yeah. And yeah, no, nothing happens just like that. Plop, plop, plop. That's not fun.
Anyone else want to talk about that?
Speak to the grand illusion part. So
yep.
We've all seen the movie The Matrix, right? And if we start looking at life energetically in just the 3D realm where we are energetically, the Matrix is so apparent of how we are all kind of plugged into this system where we're told how to behave in certain situations. We're told how to live, how to do things in certain, protocols that we do. COVID was a good example. Like that was affected the whole world. It was a system. So we have these systems, we have these matrices. And once you're kind of aware of that, you get to decide what you want to participate in and what you don't, what you subscribe to and what you don't. And if you decide, okay, there's the system I no longer subscribe to, let's unplug, and then you're wide open to create. So I just thought I would throw that in there because I love the topic of like creating your own reality. But if you're trying to create on top of this system that's running through you, this program that's running through you, but it's not really yours, or it's not really your ideals or beliefs, it might be a little bit challenging to create your own reality or do what you want to do. So if you can do the unplugging bit, I love this energy technique of just, you can visualize, closing your eyes, seeing the matrix, seeing the system, and literally just pulling your cord out or pulling the plug out of the matrix, out of the system, then you're all yours. You get to deal with your thoughts, your beliefs, whatever you want to do. So I love the idea of creating from that place and not the plugged in place.
Thanks for that share too. Anyone else want to pop in on that?
I'm just going to add to that, if that's all right. Because I think that's a really important point, and sort of to tie back into imagination, and if we could imagine the perfect life and all of those things. I get asked this quite often, considering the traumas that I've been through in my life. And do I wish I didn't have to go through those traumas? Yeah. But I would not be who I am today, doing what I am today, if I hadn't been through those to bring me where I am today. And then I think too, like just about Destiny, what you were saying about sort of unplugging and figuring out who you are. That is something that is so scary for so many, myself included earlier in my life. I was so trying to fit in that I never thought that I could, step out and be like, who am I, right? And so that took many, many more traumas before I went, I can't do it this way. I can't do it this way anymore. And being able to then step into who am I is a whole other thing, because it's like, you don't know, like, I didn't know who I was. And it's taken years to sort of figure that out. I'm still on that journey. Things still come, and it's like, is that me, or is that an expectation of me? And so there's all those different pieces. And so when we talk about imagining what we want in our life, we actually need to leave room to be, right? Because sometimes we're pushing so hard towards what we think we want, as opposed to what we need or what we actually want, because we don't have it quite all figured out. So I'm just putting it out there to sort of be aware of allowing space, maybe allowing space for what needs to happen, but also where you need to be for those doors to all open for you.
Beautiful. Christina, I'd love to hear what you think about this too.
I'm just riveted by what everyone's saying, so I'm listening with my whole heart. And I love what you just said, Larissa, about space. I mean, we could go on and on about creating space, and that is a radical thing, especially I would say in female bodies, or as women, as a woman, creating space in my life for something that is not, what I should do, or what, taking care of other people, or all of that is like a really radical thing. So I just wanted to say thank you for bringing that into the space. And then what I would add is that for me, one of the things that, working shamanically, and I've always been an artist of many different disciplines, that I guess I've been on a big journey. I mean, when you work shamanically, anyone who claims that first is audacious anyway, but that you're usually initiated by spirit, to do that work, because it's hard. Don't let anybody tell you different. It is hard. And part of why it's hard is because we are really here. This is my belief, that we're really here to have a full spectrum human experience. We're not really here to have a happy experience or just a loving experience. That the human experience, at least right now, matrices, 3D, whatever we're going to call it, it's very much, the human experience is a full spectrum. It's like a light spectrum. And so this has again been my journey, is that when we break our hearts wide open, when our hearts break, they break open, and then we experience, say, deep grief, and when we let ourselves feel that, and that can take years, it can take a lifetime to feel, that we are also breaking our hearts open to experience deep joy. That's the spectrum. That's at least what I keep seeing. I work phenomenologically, which means that I'm not so into labels. I'm really into, well, what is your body telling you in this moment? You, not me, not what is my body telling me about you. What is your body telling you about your experience right now? And so that's just something that I feel like when you talk about the grand illusion, it's like, it's really kind of beautiful in that, yes, we're creating our reality, but I think what nobody really understood when The Secret came out, right, is that actually we are creating the reality. We are. It's actually not you in your bubble and me in my bubble. We say that because we like the idea of this radical independent thing, but actually it's a lot more we're all the same thing. If I'm going to be real about this grand illusion, is like we're all the same. Quantum physics would say we're all the same thing, kind of acting out in different patterns. Whoa.
Yeah, that's hugely important to understand too, because, well, first of all, imagine if we all just independently were creating whatever the heck we wanted. How would that work? And I can't even wrap my mind around it, because I really understand and felt on a felt sense level how interconnected and woven together we are. So I can't even imagine that it's dysfunctional. So like in the body, when cells go rogue, we call that cancer, right? Because it's kind of against what the whole is trying to create. It's really such an interesting thing to look at it from this perspective of being interconnected to the level of, we've got these wars going on. We've got like the stampede that happened the other day, and we're part of that field. Yet there's some of us that want to isolate and pretend that they're not a part of that. Well, that's not me. I don't do that. I'm not a part, like global warming, like pick any topic, right? Where we need to improve ourselves. And, how many people show up to say like, oh yeah, I'm part of how that got created, and this is what I'm going to do to shift it. Most people are kind of, not me, I didn't do it, let them figure it out. It's not my problem. It's the corporations, it's the government, it's whatever, but we're that. So I love that you brought that into the field, because I think that's part of being responsible as dreamers and creators. And so we're going in that direction now. So thanks for spinning the ball that way. Who wants to hop in on that?
I always have something to say, but I'll wait for somebody else if they. I think this is a really important point, because we have become so disconnected, and I think as we disconnected from nature and that oneness that we were, we've gotten further and further away from that, right? And that's one of the reasons that I've brought ritual back to what I do, because we need to start bringing some of that connection back, right? And we can do it individually, but if we can do it collectively, it just expands. And when we forget that this is how we end up where we are, right? We end up with countries, at war, or the natural disasters that are happening, and cutting down the rainforest, for the cattle, because we don't need to breathe. Whatever it is that is in the I mindset has really caused us now then to go, those of us who are in tune with what's been happening collectively, and I'm not talking about individually. I don't know all the natural disasters. I don't know all the, I try to stay away from the news, but as a collective, I feel the energy of it. And I recognize that we are in a time of, I'm trying to think what the word is that I want to use. And it's not really explosion, but we're in a time of, I use the word awakening often, but it's not even that. It's like we recognize we're in trouble. And so as a collective, many of us have come together, and this has happened many times over the years. I feel like there's a bigger shift happening right now, because it's global. It's not in little pockets. And people are starting to understand that this is really like we're going in the wrong direction, and we need to put the brakes on now. And so it's so amazing to me to see this collective energy come together, and why we can have amazing conversations like this with 6 of us, and other conversations that we have, and do the collaborative work that I love to do, and things like that, because we're all sitting in that energy, and we're all going, yeah, we need to do something. And the best way we can do that is collectively, and then share that energy out and do more and more. So like I said, I can always step in with something to say. But I'll leave room for others.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, I'd love to pop in here and bring it back to creativity and imagination, because I feel like, so thank you, Larissa, for what you shared. And for me, it's the space of collaboration is in creative rooms like this. And creativity helps me imagine something different than the grand illusion, right? Like it all comes back to that fact that art and creative expression in whatever form it takes are the most healing things we can do for self and planet. Because I believe that when we're all working in our highest and best creativity, we can solve all the world's problems. But creativity is one of the things that I think has gotten it's like there's dysmorphia, like there, we get dysmorphia around our bodies, we get dysmorphia around creativity as well. Like we don't think we're creative, we don't believe we're creative, it's not valued because we can't monetize it like so much in this world. And yet it's the place from which all the solutions flow. And so I feel like the more that we're in spaces like this, speaking to the fact that if we can come back to imagination, if we can come back to creative expression, then we can find our own voices. I loved what Joyce was saying about, we have the power to rewrite all the stories. And as a mom of 2 young adults who care deeply about the environment, I have a whole new, fresh perspective. So bringing in cross-generational conversations, cross-racial conversations, like how can we just continue to deepen our own connection to creativity and imagining a different way of being in the world? For me, it's always such a powerful starting place, starting within, starting in spaces like this, and then expanding that out to as many people as possible.
Thanks for bringing that piece back in.
I can jump in there too, yeah. Because what Minette said, and also what Larissa said earlier, actually, when Larissa said she had a program and within a week she saw similar programs, talk about being connected, right? Talk about what Christina said, we're all actually one, we're all the same. So that is also why you see those things happen, those synchronicities happen, that you come up with this idea and suddenly somebody at the other side of the world has a similar idea and you haven't spoken about it, but suddenly within days from each other, you see that you present a similar thing. And it's because there will be people that connect with you that need to hear it, and other people that connect with that other person, and so on. For one of my programs, I was sculpting a little Venus, like little Venus of Willendorf figurine, and there's a goddess timeline. You can actually get a whole poster where you see that in different spaces in the world at similar times, they were making little goddess figurines and things like that. That was even before the internet, before telephone, before anything, but that happened. So those vibrations were talking to each other. And that is why these kind of connections that I have, I'm all the way down the other side of the world, and I'm here with all of you. And we feel like we're in the same room and it feels we're connected. And even if we don't talk and I see you somewhere or I read an email from you, it is as if you're just there, because vibrationally you are. Vibrationally, you are already inside of me, talking about what Christina said, connected with what she said. It's like, yes, because actually, if you open yourself up, awaken your senses really to that, then we are connected. We are connected, and that takes creative minds. And creative minds are the only ones that will have solutions for the future, because we humans can create a lot of robots and machines to do things for us. But creative thinking is still one of the things that only creatives can do. And we are creative. So we better tap into our creativity, I think, everybody. Whatever your creativity is, because everybody has creativity. I have this conversation with everybody all the time, every day. Yeah. And so that I can get passionate about that, because we all can find creativity inside of us and make ourselves think outside of the box or help ourselves. It's not really making, it's just opening the door to think outside of the box and find solutions in other ways. Yeah, I think that we need that. The world needs that. We all need that. It's time for a big change. Hey, Larissa. Yeah. I think that's it's time, the time of a big change. Yeah. That's all I have. I think for now.
I would love to say something. Just on the tail ends of what you're saying, Joyce. I feel like I think you said, Deborah, responsibility, right? Which I hate that word. I don't know about all of you, but I'm just, oh, like how many times can it's okay if you love responsibility. I'm not saying I don't have a ton of it. I do, but the word itself feels a little burdensome to me.
Accountability, maybe accountability.
I love accountability. I feel like, yes. And I don't know, I guess part of why I even speak to it, because yes, of course, we're all responsible. I'm not saying anything about what it actually means. But I think that one of the kind of nuanced things when we get into this conversation of like, what are we responsible for? And how can creativity play a role in being almost like a catalyst in this moment in time? For me, and I feel like I just want to like scream this from the rooftops, is it's what it takes is each one of us to get, can I say the F word? To get really, really weird. And I think this is something that we avoid collectively. We avoid because we feel a lot of shame when we get weird. We feel shame, right? When we start to get weird and innovative and try things that like nobody's ever done before and we've never seen it. And I've had this idea since I was 5 and I did it and it was weird and people got weird and I made people uncomfortable. And like, that's what we need right now. Yep. We need you to raise your freak flag higher for the world to see, because that's my call to, yes, use your creativity for change, but that doesn't just mean, like, yes, do your practices, do the things that light you up, do the things that heal you, absolutely, and get freaking weird with it. Because until we get so weird that we're unshaming ourselves in the collective, we can't get to a place of like this really big, we're saying we need a shift. It's like, we don't need a shift, we need a million shifts, right? It's like, and one shift will help other ones to happen as we see. But, I think about right now, I don't know about you, but I'm extremely lit up by what's happening in Iran right now. Like, I am like, ugh, like the dark goddess, the deep goddess, she is just raging inside of me, and that's not my story, but it is a collective thing that we need to be thinking about, and the people over there that are in the streets risking their lives right now, they're getting weird. They're trying all the things, like they turned the internet off. So they have to scream literally and risk the life of this body, this sacred body, to get the word out. And unless we collectively are doing that, how are we going to shift anything? I mean, the shift is happening. We're seeing it. But all of us, like, this is the wake-up call, I think, of kind of imagination and creativity, is like, that's what's going to get us there. And it's a very real thing. As much as it is an esoteric thing, which I love, I'm very esoteric. I love that shit. But it's a very real thing. Yeah. Right? Okay, I'll stop.
No, I love it, because I started thinking like, oh, that changes the whole thing of frequency.
I love that. Oh my gosh.
When you said raise your freak flag, I was thinking frequency. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's hilarious, right? I love that you brought shame into this, because that is the big stopper right there. That's where it's so uncomfortable. And I know, like, people I've been working with, I've been seeing it come up, and where it's hard work, man. It's hard work, but it feels uncomfortable, but you get to keep going at it. And it's so funny. Like, I did this thing today, like I've been working on a painting, and I think I did it the other day. I changed the whole direction of the painting. And then I got like all like, oh, like I was freaking out about it. Like, what did I do? And I was just really trusting the energy. And I'm like, isn't this funny how you can create this, I did it wrong, I broke it, I'm now ashamed, blah, 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 in a painting. And that's why I love to paint, because it gives you a place to tap into that energy and get it to move. And yeah, we do need to get our freak out. I love that. Raise your frequency.
And I'm just going to jump in too. I think that's a really important point about, and your freak flag may look different than somebody else's, right? But we have to get out there and cause change to happen. And we can't do that by being the same as everybody else. So it doesn't mean you have to have purple hair and a mohawk and, you know, as an old lady, the things that we might think of as freaks, you know, all the things that I thought were super cool when I was young. But it does mean that we have to do something different to bring attention to ourselves, which is a really uncomfortable place to be, to bring attention to yourself. And then you're being scrutinized, and then people are judging you. But that judgment's on them. You need to stand in your own power and really step into that to get people to pay attention, right? And if everybody is shaking people up by getting them to pay attention, we can help with those millions of shifts. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can speak to this a little bit. It's about embracing, what we came here to do, and having the bravery and courage of being able to speak that. You can hear my throat chakra going as we're talking about it. But, I really just want to say that now I really feel is the time of the light worker. So everyone here, not only the people on the panel, but the people listening. So if you're listening, you're one of these people that just you're the change makers. So we're talking about how to impart change. It's us. It's us. We get to do it. So, if you have this conversation, like I was talking about earlier, the programming of, if you believe that you're not a brave person, or you have no special skills or no creativity or whatever that, like, now's the time to just drop that crap and really just go for it. So I just wanted to kind of be a cheerleader and say, now's your time. You can do it.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, there's so much going on in the world, and it's such an easy thing to go bury yourself, in a cocoon, or put your head in the sand. And I want to start heading in the direction of the divine feminine. Christina, you started tapping into it when you were talking about the rage. And I know with my groups, we're working with, Kuan Yin and Kali. And lately, who's been coming up for me is Lakshmi, and there's just culturally the divine feminine, the goddess, the divine masculine too, because it gets to balance. So I'm not going to ask a specific question, but just kind of open up the field for how you see this, what you think about it. What do you see happening as a result of us starting to become aware of how to balance the energies, not necessarily the gender roles? I think that's another thing to say in this too, because I think there's a confusion around the gender roles of masculine and feminine and the actual energy of it. And so I'm just going to back off and let you guys go for it.
Pick me. I'm going to jump in here. I was actually going to of course, we think alike, Deb. When Destiny was talking, I'm like, oh, I need to bring in both the feminine energy and in here, and I think this is maybe the shift that I'm seeing the most of right now, is about bringing that balance back, and maybe because I'm immersed in it right now, but the patriarchy that we've lived in is a very masculine energy. And again, like Deb said, I'm not talking about men and women. We need a balance of both, and it is so far skewed that we're all suffering. We're all not balanced and not in our best place. And bringing that back to balance requires us to sort of swing a lot more towards the feminine energies to bring some of the balance back. And so, things like creativity, rest, intuition, imagination, these are the things that are feminine energies, and they're being squashed because of fear. And so if we can allow ourselves to bring those back for our own self and work on our intuition, work on our creativity and a purpose.
No. Give her a minute.
Not, but to ask ourselves the space to relax. We can remember that women and typically work energy cycle versus that's been a big problem for women, especially because the 24-hour is what our patriarchal system works on, right? We go to work every day, we do the same thing every day, it's constant. But women's energy works on a very different cycle. We have times of the month where we have more energy, times of the month where we need to rest, and we're not allowed that space. And I work with women, so that's where my focus has been. The energy needs to be shifted in everyone, but men aren't allowed to be more feminine, right? Women aren't allowed to be more masculine. Well, they are if they're paying, if it's bringing in the money and all the rest of that, but that balance is what we require. And so if we can just start to shift our own selves, right? So as women, we tend to be, I don't want to say the leaders in the home, but we direct things, right? We direct things in the home. We direct things behind the scenes often. And so if we can be working on ourselves and bringing that balance to our own selves, that will help to shift, right? And as little things change. And some of those important things are, of course, our creativity, paying attention to what's actually happening, things like that. So I don't want to take all the time, so I'm going to just step back, but I just was like, oh.
You guys are all playing so nice together. It was interesting. You started cutting out a little bit, and I was thinking, oh, isn't this so interesting that he's saying something that sounded like it was really important, and then we got the distortion. So yeah, it's all good, but it's just really interesting. Yeah. Who wants to pop in on this?
I will pop in on this because I always feel like such an interesting conversation. And I actually love the conversation in relationship to the frequency, which I love the play of words there, and just share, one of the places where I've struggled over the last couple of years, probably since the Black Lives Matter movement forward through the pandemic and through war, is what is my voice in all of this, right? What is the truth that I want to speak? So I like to think of it as speaking my truth rather than letting my freak flag fly. I don't think of myself as super freaky. If you ask other people, they probably disagree completely. But to always come back to the space of love when other people are speaking in voices of protest, that for me, I have to come back to that interconnectedness of all beings. And to me, that's being in my own divine feminine, my own motherhood, both as, global earth mother, as well as, sorry, all of a sudden my cats are down here like freaking out, running around. They're like, it's like squirrel moment over here. And they're the only things that I have to mother at the moment because my kids are grown and gone. And it's interesting, we're having this conversation and they're showing up. But for me, it's this constant practice of how do I come back to center? How do I come back to love? How do I come back to what's important? How do I honor the divine feminine within without getting super out of balance? I'm very active in the world. I need my masculine to get things done, to be a leader in my community. And so for me, staying in a place of love and still finding avenues. And this is a question, not, an offering, but I see it in my clients that, because I also work with mostly women, they're so caught in the masculine world of doing. And if we're not in creativity, if we're not in imagination, we can't see solutions to our own problems, much less imagine what's the voice or the truth that I want to speak out about what's happening in the world around me as well. And as a mother of two kids, both on the LGBTQIA journey themselves. It's fascinating to be in this space of, how do you nurture the masculine and the feminine in that conversation? And how do I just keep it always coming back to love? So I feel like this is like such a huge, beautiful conversation that's so important to have for me as well as for other people on the planet. And how can we have enough love and energy in the divine feminine to start to shift the patriarchy away from its, how many, like 2000 years, right, of domination back towards the center, without it being all about men are evil, women are the only way. Like, I don't believe that either. So for me, it's always like, it's personal, it's spiritual, and it's political all at the same time. And art is my way through, always, like taking it to the canvas, taking it to the page, painting through the rage, painting through the sacred connection is my only way through, especially when, like what I'm loving about being in this space with all of you is having a place to talk about these things. And I think so as someone, who works from home on my own, and, I don't always have rooms like this. And I would imagine a lot of women don't have rooms like this to come together to be in these conversations, and just for all of us to create the space and the opportunity to nurture these conversations and to let people speak their truth in whatever way that looks like for them.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I love that you just wove that. It just kind of landed it for me, like why this feels so comfortable. Yeah, I know all of you guys on certain levels. I've worked with you before in some way, shape, or form, but it's the conversation that we have all have in common, and the passion that we each have for being in transformation, not just for everyone else, but like doing the work within ourselves. So thanks for bringing that back in to this. Who else wants to hop in on this?
I have a little thing to add to that. So I am no longer looking for a balance. I see it again as a bit of a play. It's more like swaying a little bit here, swaying a little bit there. It's like a dance. It's more like finding a rhythm. It's no longer finding balance, because balance, if you find a balance, then it is stable.
Yeah, like static.
And because I'm a creative, I've noticed that really, if you think about it, all creation happens with the energy that is between things that are opposite of one another or apart from one another. So you have black and white creates grays, two colors create shades and tints. Loud sounds and soft sounds create a melody. Things like that. So fast movement and slow movement creates a dance, creates a rhythm. So I am now looking more for the rhythm. So it's okay for me as a creative. I'm also a business owner. Some days I need to be a little bit more in my masculine to manage the business parts of my work. And other days I will take completely my feminine to create and to be and to just dream away. And I won't touch any of those other tasks, So it's more like a dance, like a rhythm, like a sway. Sometimes you get, it's like a swing or a slalom, or it's like that. So that is really what I wanted to add. So you don't have to beat yourself up like, oh, I'm not in balance all the time. It's okay. It's okay. So you're a little bit here today and a little bit there today, the other day, and it's fine. As long as it evens out. It's like a boat going to an island. You can go a little bit to the left and a little bit. In the end, you end up there where you want to be. So you dream where you want to go, and you just make your way there. Yeah, zigzagging.
Zigzag.
Yeah, and that's fun too. There's a little bit more fun zigzagging.
Yep. Yeah, it's totally not a linear process. I just read something about the rocket to the moon fails more times than it is accurate, but it fails its way to the moon. And like, wow, that's such an interesting way to look at it, right? And we're so afraid to fail. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any more thoughts on this very deep topic of masculine, feminine?
I feel like if we take it even one step further, they're not different. They express themselves in the way they express themselves, and we speak them as different. But it's sort of like, you know, I know we're not necessarily talking about gender, but I also think that there's something very interesting about the layers of that in this conversation. And really about I was talking about radical and, you know, talk about, I don't know if you have anybody in your life that has come out as non-binary, but holy shit, that person is risking everything to be radically all of themselves. And I really believe that there's something that we all can learn from that. Now, I'm not making, you know, I'm not trying to say this is easy or hard or right or wrong or good or bad, because I also believe this is a space that we're all kind of over that conversation of,
Right.
I don't really care what you believe someone else should do with their, you know, with their identity and body and what they call themselves. I really don't care about that. What I really care about is like looking at the expression of things in the collective and saying, this is not an accident. Young people wouldn't be sitting here talking about the masculine and feminine energies as doing and being. Young people, I would guess, and I don't know, we'd have to ask them, but I would guess they would be having quite a different conversation about being all of who I am and being part of a collective at the same time. And is it really that we're about doing and being? I don't know. I feel like I work with some goddesses that are all about getting shit done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so how can we, and I'm not saying anything that anyone said is not correct. I don't believe there's a correct. I believe that we're growing in our languaging as we're waking up, and all of this is happening maybe quicker than it's ever happened before, right? That things are quickening, that energy is moving quicker through us. And so I know that I don't have any answers, but I think there's something really fascinating about what is coming forward through all of us. And in this conversation of, I talk about masculine and feminine energy all the time in my work, but I also always want to look at like, what is that place, not of balance, but of like what is that color inside of me when they're mixed? You know, what does that feel like inside of me when they're mixed? Not in balance, that they're one. And I think this, if I might really like reach here, but I think this is something that Mary Magdalene, and like if you look at the Christ consciousness teachings outside of a religious patriarchal container, you would see that so much of those teachings, and Minette, you talked about always going back to love, like that's who Mary Magdalene was. And it was always going back to love and always going back to the whole and complete self. That's what her gospel is about. It's the marriage chamber isn't about finding the love of your life, your one true love. You are your true love. You are it. It's all inside of us, right? And I bring up Mary Magdalene because I talk a lot about the saints. I talk a lot about the goddess stories and the myths of the goddess, because if you look at all these stories, what you're going to see time and time again is, how do we come into wholeness within ourselves? How do I anchor into wholeness within myself? This is why I was saying, let your freak flag fly, because you know, we can practice these processes of anchoring into the earth, anchoring into each other, anchoring into the collective. Where are you rooting yourself? It has to be within yourself. You know, like that's how we can bring our whole self forward. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm making sense. I'm throwing
No, it makes amazing sense. I'm like, yes. Especially when you brought up Mary Magdalene, because I've been like the Christ consciousness energy and Mary Magdalene, and I have the book, the Magdalene manuscript by Tom Kenyon. I think that's what that is. Talk about turning what you think you know on its head. And I love that we're having this amazing conversation, and thank you for like bringing this into the field, because it's shaking up the norm, and we need to have this. This is just like when you're in the middle of making an art, writing a story. We don't have the answers. We don't know where it's going all the time. And that's part of we're on the edge. That's what I call the creative edge. We are creating the very ground beneath us as we walk, and nobody has the answers. And I love that, yes, let's push buttons. That's how we change, right? Yeah.
Yeah, with authenticity, right? Like not trying to get a rise out of people, because that's so limited. Like, who cares about that, right? But having the real, I think personally for me, and I didn't say this earlier, but for me right now is a pretty hard moment in my life, because I'm turning myself inside out. This year, for me has been a year of completely dismantling my own business to sort of allow the patriarchy to be transmuted into something else. I don't even know what that means, but I'm practicing letting my flag fly, my frequency flag fly. Realize, what am I doing here?
Right. Yeah. And I can feel that in you from the last time I spoke to you, and where you are right now. You're explosive. I love it. I love it. Because I'm picking up your energy, and I'm like, yeah, let's go.
I have no answers. I just think that this is our time. It really is. I think Destiny said that, and I was like, hell yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's all about asking the questions. Questions, to me, questions open up space. The more we ask, the more we see, and like, let's not have answers. Still point.
Something Christina said something, and I thought at that moment, yes, it's all about the words sometimes as well, the words that are used in certain conversations and that have taken on a particular meaning, but they're not always the right words. And perhaps because English is not my first language, I sometimes have to look up meanings of words. And also I think sometimes especially about deep conversations, I think still in my own language. And then I try to find the right word for it in English. And then sometimes it just doesn't feel exactly right. And I think that in a lot of these conversations, words can make a difference as well. Words can make a difference. And so maybe we need to be a little bit creative about that as well. Who knows, and again, there's no answer. So we might as well just try, right? We might as well just try and have fun with that as well. I take every opportunity to have a little bit of fun. Maybe you've noticed, but yeah.
We got to do that
too. Bring a little bit of light in my life. Yeah. And playfulness, curiosity and playfulness. I think that is one of the things that a lot of adults especially have lost or forgotten. Keep that child inside of you alive. Keep being curious. Keep surprising yourself every day. That helps as well. Be non-judgmental and just do. It's like that freak flag. It's like that freak. Kids they have no boundaries. What they're considering that. They just do what seems fun, and they just do it regardless what everybody else thinks. So if you can capture a little bit of that still and bring that back into your life, being curious every day, making yourself, surprise yourself every day, making yourself laugh every day, it really helps. It really helps. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that kind of goes back to the shame thing. Shame is such a big energy that we all have within us too. And it's like that was how we got trained to give up the freak, the things we did as little kids before we knew better, or before we were schooled into better. We were doing not to hurt anybody, you were doing because you're in that moment of creation, you're having fun, you're lighthearted, and someone sees it and goes, oh, that's not right. That's not how we behave in society. You're going to get shamed for that. Put that away. And look at how big our shadow is, because of that. And that's another part of this conversation, is the shadow. That's why this little guy here wanted to come in and be seen today. And I haven't really shown him too much outside of private circles. He is my shadow. I did a lot of shadow work painting him, and I'm still doing some work. And it's really interesting how when I first started painting him, I was like angry, rageful, pissed off, wanting not to own it. Like a lot of emotions came up with it. But the more I started working with that energy, the more I grew to love that aspect of myself. And I think that's part of where we need to go too, is to embrace and love our shame and our shadow, you know?
Yeah, that's first of all, thank you for bringing him in because I keep like, who is that? I love him. I work out with our goddess, right? Because it's like there's a way that once we allow ourselves to get that close to it, we kind of see the illusion of it a little bit. We see where the love was lacking and what we can bring forward and how we can love all this weird, freaky stuff about ourselves. There was something else I was going to say about what you just said, Deborah, and of course I lost it because I was staring at his very wonderful face. And I know it was about the darkness. Oh, I think it was just a thing about, it's one thing to say, and I'm calling myself out here. It's one thing to say like, oh, I'm so mad about the patriarchy and the hierarchy and corporatization and how do you even be a woman running a business today? Well, we can scream from the rooftops, and the most significant thing I know I've done in my life is I took this year. We are probably making a third of the money we made last year, if I'm really honest, in my business this year, very intentionally, because the way that I was doing it before, there was something not right, and I couldn't understand it until I stepped far enough back from lots and lots of clients and several programs and all the things that I was running and seeing I'm still exhausted and I'm still hustling, and there's something that is in me that is very patriarchal, very hierarchical. And I say these words knowing that it's a twisted patriarchy, right? Patriarchy doesn't have to be evil. It doesn't have to hurt people. It doesn't have to, but here it is. Here we are. So I love that you're bringing this shadow side in, because we have to, just like we get to be freaky, we also get to be the ones who look so deeply into our own selves and our own, it's not just my wounds, it's literally the ways that I have been conditioned, the ways that I have consciously turned my own head to the things I know are wrong. Those are the things we have to pay attention to. That's the way that I am going to create a business that is radically different than almost 100% of what I see online today.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, I don't care who's preaching to you about patriarchy and blah, 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 and get, divine feminine. And I'm saying this sarcastically on purpose, that lots of people are going to say one thing, and then behind closed doors, their business is, they're not paying people well. This isn't everyone, but there's a lot of shadow here inside of our own community, right? That we get to be the ones to use imagination and creativity and say, you know what? I don't care what your business coach says. There's 100 million trillion ways to run a business.
Mm-hmm.
You get to find where your heart, your mind, your body, and your soul are aligned to move forward. Do you want to know how you have a thriving business? Do you want to know how you have a thriving art practice? That's how. Mm-hmm. Body, mind, heart, spirit, all of it has to be aligned. When I say that, I'm saying this is why now I have to talk about some of the things I never wanted to talk about. I'm an introvert. I want to hide, go make art, run my business with my little group of women, and be done.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do that anymore.
Yep. Yeah. I hear you. I was actually like, I'm glad you're bringing that up too, because I saw some of your posts on Instagram, and man, I'm like, this is awesome. This is awesome, because like, I'm feeling that too. Yeah, I'm an introvert as well. And, I love that you're putting it out there like that. Yeah. I think I'm such a hermit. Like that's, an archetype that actually serves me to do my work. And a lot of people don't understand that, you know, that they take it personal, they make it about them. And yeah, it's hard to get into this space and let yourself be seen, let your work be seen, let yourself being watched painting where you don't know where your painting is going. It's all edgy stuff, you know, and it's like, oh, big deal, it's a painting, but it isn't, because it's like, this is the stuff that I do where nobody's watching. And yeah, it's we all are going to experience something like that as we're opening up the gates, you know. So gosh, thank you. It's like, I feel like I'm like, oh, well, thank you for your service, because it's like, this is how we do it. This is how we do it. Someone has to stand and say no more and do it differently, right? And that's part of like the businesses that we're growing too, because I was in that myself and it didn't fit and I was hating it, and what's going on and why, and what am I doing this for? Fighting it? Am I fighting it just to fight, or is there something else to it? You know, and this is a conversation that for another time too, because like this needs to happen maybe in a container like this under, you know, another banner, but because we'll go deep on this one.
You want me to make you a misfit badge?
Yeah. We all need misfit badges.
Magical misfit. Yeah. That's really, that's so much how, yeah, it's like I could have said the same thing. And I'm sure that Larissa thinks the same. I don't know Destiny so well, but perhaps as well, Minette, we can all relate. And I know a lot of people in the audience will feel the same way as well. That's why we're all here connecting, right? You meet people and you tune into people for a reason. And so that's the red thread right there. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Love. Yeah.
I'm looking mindful of the time, and I want to open up for questions if anyone has any questions. And so Kendra, the way we're going to do this, if someone types in a question, I would love it if you could read it, and then whoever wants to answer it, just go for it. So we got to give them a little bit of space to type their questions in, because sometimes that takes a little time. So if anyone has anything they want to add to where we just went in our conversation, I'd love to have you add in.
I'll just jump in, because Deb, you and I had talked about in this month's Connection with Spirit, we talked a little bit about business, but then Joyce, you had said about language and about the words we use. And that's something we've been talking about a lot in my groups, because the more we understand, especially emotions is where we've been going, so we can sort of understand ourselves better. Brene Brown's work, Minette, I know you're working with that as well. But just understanding the different, what the words mean, and then what do they mean to other people, whether it's emotions or anything else. And we have such a collective. I'm in Canada, so we're very multicultural. I think most of the world is now, whether you want to believe it or not. I think we are. But language is quite a barrier of understanding. And so even if you are all speaking English, the chosen language of, you know, let's not go there. Anyways, even if you're all speaking English, I'm just going to stop that right now. You're coming at it from different places, right? You're coming at it from different understandings, different backgrounds, different, there's just so many different things to it. So even if you're born in the same country, even if you're, you know, of the same, it can still be different. And so not making sure, but understanding that you may be speaking the same language per se, but you may not have the same understanding because of your own personal experiences. I think a really big part of leaving judgment out, and to also be compassionate and understanding that not everybody's coming from the same place. Sort of wanted to throw that in.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
There
meeting
was
people
some,
where they're at is what that feels
Yeah.
like. Like we have to
Yes.
meet people wherever they're at, not where we're at.
Mhm.
Mhm, mhm.
And don't assume
Yeah,
that they're where you're at, right? So, yeah,
right,
yeah.
right. Yeah, that's asking questions, being open, right? Getting out of assumptions,
Mhm.
like being in the moment. A lot of us aren't even in presence enough within ourselves to be in presence with, like, just think about the gift of presence with another person. Like, just even in this container, where we're distant, but we're all presence with each other, and that how it feels wonderful to be heard and witnessed, and what a gift that is, that you can give another person, is to quiet down and really listen to what's being said, and really hearing that person and not just anticipating what you're going to say. That's we're trained to have the answers too right away, to, like, I know for me, I was always very slow of thought and slow of speech. Not that I wasn't smart, it just took me a while to get to it, and I was kind of labeled as not very smart because it took me, I didn't have the answers right away. I wanted to ponder it. I wanted to take it inside and kind of turn it around and be thoughtful with it. And people dismiss that right away. And there is a gift to being able to go inward and slow it down, and yeah, be in presence with yourself. Like, even as I'm talking, I can feel more and more presence coming in. And I'm wondering, like, how that's being felt in the audience too. There's Nobody's really kind of popped any questions in. There was a few as we were talking. And Anetta says, I feel that if we look at responsibility as responsibility, it takes away the negative connotations and becomes very empowering. Yeah, it's kind of in that. Let's see, animals are drawn to energy, not surprising. Your cats are freaking out. And Deborah just talked about being afraid to fail, which I thought many times, it just occurred to me that it is what's underneath that we're actually fearful of, afraid of what people will think, afraid of not being able to support ourselves, etc., afraid of feeling safe, and afraid of being unlovable. Yeah, yeah. I think about, Christina, what you said about how you're doing your business differently, and I think about fight or flight response and survival, and how brave that is to push those buttons in yourself, and to do what you feel is soul driven versus survival driven.
Yep. It feels like death, by the way. Anyone want to
Sign me up. I love it.
nervous system? It is not comfortable. Yeah, but also, for me, just to say thank you for that, and just to say that there is a part of me that I would absolutely be denying. Like, I'm not doing this for someone else, or because I think I should, or I'm trying to, like, it's literally a part of me was being denied, and I finally recognized that. And then I could do something about it. But this is like such a process. Talk about fight or flight. I mean, it's been a lifetime of working on that, to even get present, to really hear you, to really be able to put myself in your shoes. Mostly what we're dealing with is people not listening and not even able to listen. Right? Not able to, because if my nervous system is really firing on all cylinders, like, how am I gonna have space to hear yours?
Exactly.
We do have a few live questions right now. Elaine Bishop asks, I love what you women are saying about business, and I know it is hard to get yourself present and keep it going. What about some of us who may want to get into business too, but not at your level yet? So if anyone wants to answer that.
baby steps. I mean, we could talk about business, that's a whole other thing, but really it's about putting yourself out there and being not comfortable, because it's uncomfortable to put yourself out there, but to be okay with being uncomfortable. And that's the bigger thing. And if things are stopping you from doing that, Elaine, I would look at that, the underlying, what that might be that's stopping you. Just gonna put that out there. I think we had that conversation today.
I'll piggyback off of what Larissa just said, but I mean, talk about your shadow work. At least for me, when you embrace the business, it's this aspect of you that you did not even know you had. It's like the ultimate mirror reflection of what you haven't addressed in your life for yourself yet. So the fact that you're even considering starting your business, I mean, that's like, give yourself a pat on the back right there, because that is step number one. And then, like Larissa said, it's just baby steps and kind of coaching yourself through daily. Like, okay, I can do this today. I can do this today, even if it's one thing on your checklist, and it kind of builds on itself, and you get more and more courageous. And I mean, you already are courageous to the fact that you're thinking about starting a business. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Mm-hmm. We didn't just wake up and show up on Instagram, right? We just
Very true.
I fight with that one all the time. It's like my love hate with it, you know.
My word for the year was begin. So just begin. Just begin. You have to begin. Not just keep thinking, but begin doing something.
One step, one word.
Doing one thing. Yeah, doing one thing. Yeah. But begin. Start.
I would just add to know, like, there's this little, I'm very like spiritual, but I love the brain and I love science too. And if you can create dopamine in your body, you can have a business. And I say that because if you can create dopamine in your body, you will be resourced, you will be doing what you love, you will be resourced, and you will be able to do what it takes to put yourself out there and keep going. But start with, learn from us, learn from all of us who have had businesses for a while and done all the things of like, oh, maybe my niche should be this, or maybe I should do what they're doing, or maybe I'll try it this way. Forget all of that, like wipe that all clean and be a freak and create dopamine inside of you. If you create dopamine inside of you, you'll post on Instagram. You will say the thing that you were afraid to say. You know, because you've got this like, you're really living your life. You're really, if what creates dopamine for you is to like paint in the morning before you ever touch your work, freaking make that your mission to paint in the morning. Don't make it your mission to go to work, because the work will be a response of the dopamine you create by painting. And that's going to be an awesome business.
Yeah, I have have that firsthand experience when I was working full time and wanted to shift it, that I get up super early, so I get my creative time in first, and it will eventually, like three months after I start, maybe 4 months after I started doing that, I left that job. Just I had to leap. I had to take a big leap, but it was killing me to stay in it. And it's like, you know, I just go, okay, here we go again, another big leap. You know, I should be used to it by now. But yeah, sometimes it is a leap, sometimes it's a baby step. You got to trust what your soul is telling you to do.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And we also have Kristen, who says, as for the shame issue, the whole I am not good enough is huge.
Yeah, it's something we've literally been fed our whole lives, especially as women. But it's that whole, like, we can't trust ourselves. A doctor knows better. We don't know what's going on in our body. We don't, you know, whatever professional always knows better than we do. And, you know, if we can tap into that, our intuition, and start to trust our own self, that can really change that I'm not enough into, yeah, I got this. I got this. Mm-hmm.
I think it is fair to say that everybody here will have dealt with that feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or
still
is
do.
still dealing with it, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
I
it's
don't know
we're
that
work in
it's
progress. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
always. We talk about that dance that you talked about earlier, right? Between the edges, right, of all of that and the polarities of our being from day to day. It's just a constant juggling act is how I feel about it, about, which aspect of me is getting the most attention today.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
then
I
if
think
you can,
there's-
but then if you can approach it as that juggling act, that fun activity of juggling, then it becomes bearable. Yeah.
Yep.
That-
Yeah,
that's
it's just
better.
For
change.
sure.
Yeah, I was just gonna say kind of what you said, like it's just changing your relationship with it. You're gonna have it anyway, My husband always says, row or set sail, it's your ocean. How you do it the hard way, you do it the easy way. It's not going away, it's not gonna go away. So how do you want to be in it? Do you want to let it rule you, or do you want to be the ruler? It comes back to leadership.
I'll just throw out what's kind of helped me with that, because I like everyone's saying, I have that wound for sure. But calling myself on it whenever I notice it coming up. So, oh, there it is. I'm not good enough. Okay, cancel. Moving on. What's next? That's what helps me.
Mhm. It's a great one.
Yeah. Any more, Kendra? Any more questions or thoughts?
We have one more by Stephanie Hauser. She says, I'm not sure what question to ask, but I'm thinking about the collective trauma and wondering how that can be part of the conversation.
I think we're kind of organically moving in that direction because we're talking about a collective wound here. But who wants to field that one? And let that be our last question, because we're going to need to close.
I think we're seeing that, in so many places. If you look at, what's been done to Indigenous people in many different places across the planet, but even ancestral, right? Because we have those traumas that have been carried through our family, the people in our culture, all those different things that we haven't paid attention to, and we're finally starting to realize with this connection that with the the positive connection that we all have, we also have that I don't want to say negative, but we have that less desirable connection as well that we're all a part of. And so if we're not willing to do the work, those wounds are going to stay there. So collectively, we need to be doing the work on those wounds as well. Yeah.
I would love to jump in. That's what you said, Larissa, is really powerful. And I work a lot with family constellations and family system constellation work. And one of the things that has just really strongly, I've felt in doing this for years now with people, is that the strongest energy in the field, so we're talking about the field of our collective consciousness, is what will play out. And so when we think about it that way, and we think about, well, what strong energies, have played out that haven't been, and this is where I would like add this other piece, that have not been acknowledged, that will keep cycling through the collective until it is acknowledged.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you're like, I don't know what she's talking about, if you just want to look at it from an energetic place, because we all kind of, at least right now, our understanding of energy is that it can neither be created nor destroyed, right? So we are this energy, and we're living within a field of collective energy. And when something is like, let's say the strongest energy in the field could be World War II. And all of the deaths, not only the deaths of people and the hurt and the suffering, but then you're talking about people that never got acknowledged. You're talking about people that died when they were little teenagers, young adults, whose families never talked about it because it was so painful. that doesn't go away. That does not just disappear. The things we don't like to talk about, the secrets in our families, they will emerge. Just like the divine feminine, right? We're watching the divine feminine emerging. Because for a very long time, one of the strongest energies in the collective field was the oppression of that energy. And now we're watching her rise. What does that look like? It's not fucking pretty, right? It's not like, oh, that's so beautiful. Look at the goddess. She's here. It's like, holy, like, are we going to survive this? That's what I'm thinking. Are we going to really survive this? So I don't know if that's helpful for the person who asked that question, but I feel like, well, yeah, I think we are all in this together, and maybe that's how we get to work with it. It's a lot of acknowledgement. I mean, and what is art? Art is acknowledging what's in the field.
Mm-hmm.
And it is acknowledging it in ways that nobody else can even move it through them. This is why your art our art should be everywhere. In the street, on the sidewalk, it should be everywhere. Right? Because we're healing the collect, we're allowing what has been hidden to emerge.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Yeah. Thank you. If no one has any further thoughts on that topic, let's just take a moment and go around. And one final thought, let's start with Joyce, and then we'll kind of weave our way back.
Gosh, you give me the first spot. Oh gosh, final thought. Final thought. Be open, take time to be with yourself, to really reflect within, and try to open your pathways inside. So if you feel like you could walk inside of you, open the doors, put all the doors open and leave them open so that all the energy can flow through, and there is freedom and clarity then. It's like airing out a house. And I think that it's a perfect time in the year also, right before the end of the year, to do that, to really, this has been such a hectic year in so many different ways. And I know for so many different people in different ways as well, personally. So it's really, I think, a collective feeling that it is a good time to air out and put all your doors open so that all your senses can connect. And that you can feel that clarity and that freedom, and then express yourself. Allow yourself to express yourself. Yeah. That's all I can say. I don't know what else.
It's beautiful. Larissa.
I think, because everyone's going to have something, and I'm sure they're all things I would say, look after your own self. And I don't mean that in a like forget about everybody else, but kind of like we talk about this all the time about putting our own mask before we can help others, and we forget that excuse me, as women, we forget because we're so busy looking after everybody else. But that time in creation is looking after yourself, whatever that looks like for you. Maybe it's gardening or baking or painting, whatever it is for you. Spreadsheets right here, but allowing yourself that time without having to produce something to sell that someone else is approving of, just allowing yourself that space to create. But also, maybe you don't need to create. Maybe you need to sit and read a book. Allow yourself that space without the guilt that we are fed, that we're not doing it the right way, or we should be more productive, and just allow yourself that space. So I think that's going to be my final word.
Thank you. Destiny.
So I wasn't sure what my final word was, but as these ladies were talking, I realized that, you know, why we're gathering today, like our purpose of gathering today was to kind of talk again about our inner magic, and you know, embracing that special spark that only you have. And so my final word is to, not that you need my permission, but to kind of let yourself explore that a little bit. So speaking a little bit to what Joyce was talking about, like now is the time with Samhain and Halloween, and we're entering the season of the, you know, winter, and just it's more of a time for reflection. This is great timing. It's like a catalyst for a time to explore yourself. So, you know, taking that permission, okay, I'm going to let myself go in. And, you know, what's kind of coming through right now is I know everyone here is a seeker. I get it. I am too. You've been given so much information today, and just to kind of let it, okay, now we're going to take a deep breath. We're going to go back to real life, and we're going to kind of let it marinate and know that all of your answers and everything that you're seeking is right inside of you. And what isn't yet inside, it will come to you all in perfect timing. So just kind of, I feel like taking a deep breath, letting it settle in your bones, and giving yourself that permission to have the space and to go in. Maybe that's it.
Thank you. Christina.
Oh my gosh, final words. First, I have to start by shouting out to Mary Lee Miglino, because if that really is your name, we are definitely related. So that would be so interesting to meet a relative on this panel, or in the audience there. I think that's so interesting. Yeah, there's not a lot of us in the United States, especially, or anywhere, actually. My final, I love you, keep going. That's something we say in my community a lot. I love you, keep going. And that I think there's a genius inside of you. You may or may not know that there's a genius inside of you, but underneath, or even, I would even say, like, the shaming voice is there for a really good reason. And there is a energy there that is your personal genius, to just keep listening to it, just keep finding ways to get to that edge that we've been talking about, sneak up on it, whatever you got to do to be on that edge and get uncomfortable with yourself, and just keep listening to your body, because you're a genius, and we need your genius in the world right now. So yeah. And thank you, Deborah. This has been,
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just like in so much gratitude to all of you. So Minette, let's hear from you.
Yeah, thank you. And agree, this has been amazing. And so as much as we benefit from the solace of solitude and deep reflection, seek support in community, that you don't need to be on this journey alone, that we cannot, I think, get to the place that we need to be individually or collectively, walking the lone wolf path. That's an outmoded way of being, and that it's the collective conscious, the collective unconscious, like it all has an impact, and that we have to learn to walk the path together and learn to ask for support, to have, there's nothing more powerful than being in a circle of people who see you and can reflect back to you what you're seeing in your own solitude. So just find those places, right? Find your community, find your people that are having the conversations that you want to have.
Beautiful. Oh my goodness. Well, that kind of wraps us up. And just a big, huge thank you to each one of you for joining me here today. This is like amazing. I've not done anything quite like this before. And I think this is just going to be episode 1 in a continuing saga of collective conversations, because it's just like, I could go on for more time. There's so much to talk about, so much to address. And you guys did such an amazing job. And I thank you all for how you showed up, what you brought, how you channeled all the stuff I love my biggest takeaway is let your freak flag fly. That's hard for me to say all those F's. And to all of you who have joined us here, thank you so much. For those of you who wanted to be here on the live and were experienced a technical issue on my end that you didn't get the link and now you're watching the replay, trust that you got it just the way you needed to get it. It's all good. It all comes to you the way it needs to. And just stay in the energy of creation. I just want to close our eyes for a moment and just feel your body, feel the energy in and around your body, dropping out of your mind for a moment and dropping deeper into your heart space and just breathing yourself back into your body, because we just did a lot of intellectual stuff. A lot of things may have opened up in your mind. So come back to your heart, connect in with your breath, feel your body. And pull all of your energy back to you now in your space. Taking a big energetic space back with love and with gratitude. I love you all. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you, Deb.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
everybody. Much
Yeah.
love. Yeah.